Okay. So, narcolepsy, they usually use tricyclics. A lot of people also use SSRIs for narcolepsy. And while we are talking about um, hypo, uh, hypocretin, it is also essential to just touch upon suvorexant. Okay, and suvorexant essentially is a dual orexin receptor antagonist. Okay, so it is a dual orexin receptor antagonist, and it is essentially used to treat insomnia. Okay, now we all know GABA, and GABA usually peaks in REM sleep, is at the middle in NREM, and is at the least in wakefulness. So it will have a kind of opposite curve to what the other neurotransmitters had. And while we're talking about orexin and hypocretin, let us just also touch upon adenosine. What is the one adenosine antagonist that we all use?
Caffeine.
Caffeine. Great answer. So caffeine is the most widely used psychotropic substance in the world, and caffeine essentially is an adenosine antagonist. So that adenosine essentially decreases wakefulness and induces sleep. So when you use an adenosine antagonist, it essentially increases the wakefulness, increases your cognition, and the longer we are awake, the higher the level of adenosine. Adenosine keeps building up. Essentially, adenosine keeps building up. As we keep awake for a longer and longer time, it keeps building up. Okay. So when we use an antagonist, it helps us keep awake. And it essentially acts on the sleep sleep promoting GABAergic neurons, and it just disinhibits them. So adenosine will disinhibit the sleep promoting GABA neurons. Okay. All right. So with me so far, is it all right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's just quickly touch upon the sleep disorders, and I think that would bring us an end towards sleep. So sleep phase syndromes. Can anyone just give me a couple of sleep phase syndromes? Do you want me to cover melatonin? Because I think melatonin is pretty straightforward, and I don't think there is a lot of concept as far as melatonin is concerned. Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So sleep phase syndrome disorders are usually advanced sleep phase syndrome and delayed sleep phase syndrome. Okay. And you also have your shift worker syndrome. Okay, for the people who have some days of the week they have night duties and some days of the week they have day duties. So essentially these are chronobiological disorders, but they'll also come into your sleep disorders. Okay, so we touched upon narcolepsy, we touched upon the sleep phase syndromes, and now let's just quickly go through the parasomnias. So what are parasomnias essentially? Can anyone tell me? What are parasomnias? Anyone? So these are the problems or the disorders which essentially are problems regarding or related to sleep, but these are not essentially problems with sleep itself. So they are behaviors or they are problems associated with sleep. And these are essentially divided into REM, NREM, and other parasomnias. Okay. And the one that a couple of them which we have already seen today are NREM. Should I write nightmare or should I write night terror? What should I write in NREM? Night
Night
terrors.
terror.
Good, good,
Night terror.
good, 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 good. Okay, and I'll write nightmares
Nightmares.
in REM sleep. Okay. Then the other NREM parasomnias are the sleep walking or somnambulism. Okay, and this does have a couple of specifiers. So these are associated with eating, or these are associated with sexual behavior. Usually, there is complete amnesia regarding these episodes in the patient or in the subject. And a couple of important REM parasomnias are: one is nightmares, the other one is REM sleep behavior disorder. This is a very interesting concept. So essentially, when we have nightmares, the reason why we don't act on these nightmares is because our body undergoes a certain sense of paralysis when we are in REM sleep. So, and that is why we don't act on the dreams that we get. But a lot of people have this tendency to act on these dreams because the paralysis system essentially does not work. And this is because lesions in the um, thalamus or lesions in the basal ganglia, and these would lead to hyperpolarization of the motor neurons. And these essentially don't allow the paralysis system to work. So they will um, convert those nightmares which they have. So suppose someone is walking in the nightmare, or suppose someone is punching someone in the nightmare, you will end up punching your spouse or your girlfriend or whoever you are with right now. So that essentially is REM sleep behavior disorder. And you will have recurrent isolated sleep paralysis or REM sleep paralysis disorder as well, which is like a lockdown sense of feeling, because you're awake but you cannot move your hands or legs. And obviously you have the nightmare disorder, which is again um, a REM sleep disorder. The other parasomnias usually include so in DSM, the encopresis and enuresis are given in elimination disorders, but a lot of people usually do want us to just touch upon the enuresis and encopresis when we are talking about parasomnias. So just go through that. I don't think there is much to um, there's no much difficult concept as far as enuresis and encopresis is concerned. Just remember the difference between primary and secondary, because that is very important. Then you also have sleep related eating disorder. Okay, then this is a very important differentiation. So can anyone tell me what is the difference between restless leg syndrome and periodic leg movement syndrome?
During awake.
Sorry? Anyone? So restless leg is usually, sorry?
The periodic limb usually occurs in sleep disturbances, I mean sleep disorders.
Right. And restless leg is also not, so we have this knack of calling a person who is just sitting and moving his leg as restless leg syndrome. But if you look at the textbook picture of RLS, it is essentially before the onset of sleep or very much near to the initial part of the sleep. So it essentially does not allow a good peaceful sleep, whereas periodic limb movement will cause awakening from the sleep. So the patient has typically already fallen asleep, but then he wakes up because of the sudden myoclonic movement. So these are also known as nocturnal myoclonus. Whereas these are continuous movements, also known as Ickbaum syndrome. Okay. And there is a constant walking or crawling sensation, and moving or banging your leg will essentially elevate this pain. Okay. And what are the common causes of restless leg syndrome? Iron folic acid deficiency, rheumatoid arthritis, thyroid abnormalities. You can have
Aripiprazole.
neuropathy. Sorry?
Aripiprazole.
Aripiprazole. There is a psychotropic which is much more commoner as far as restless leg syndrome side effect is concerned. It happens very commonly with SSRIs. Okay. And the management, what molecules do you usually use for the management? Pramipexole. What is the dose of pramipexole? Does anyone remember? Pramipex, I think, is a very common trade name. Anyone, the dose of pramipexole? It's about, yeah. Please go on. Okay, I think it starts at 0.125 milligrams, and you gradually tend to increase the dose of pramipexole. It is essentially a dopaminergic, or it increases the dopamine concentration. So pramipexole, ropinirole, these are used. Then some people also tend to use propranolol, benzodiazepines, exercises. These are other commonly used treatments for both PLMS and RLS. Other couple of parasomnias are bruxism. Bruxism happens due to alcoholism, stress, amphetamines. Okay, and treatment is similar, benzodiazepines, propranolol, but also one thing which is essential is a lot of people use appliances, dental appliances for bruxism. And then there is this very interesting disorder which is known as sleep related rhythmic movement disorder. Okay, and this is also known as Jacasio-Capitis nocturna. So there is essentially head banging, body rolling, body rocking. These are all a part of the sleep, and these are usually happening from the transition from wakefulness to sleep. All right, and this provide a specific vestibular stimulation, and usually happen due to substance or medicine. I know the parasomnias and these are very boring and very redundant, but these are a very important concept as far as your paper A and paper B both exams go. Is it all right so far?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any doubts, anything anyone wants to talk about? Okay, shall we move on?
Oh,
Then just go through the sleep apneas. So you should know what an apnea is, what a hypopnea is, and what is AHI, that is apnea hypopnea index. And I think these are very basic terms. You don't need to delve into a lot of details regarding this, but just knowing a little bit about it would help. Central sleep apnea, a typical MCQ is Ondine's curse. Ondines. Ondine's curse is another name for central sleep apnea. Does anyone have any doubts regarding the basic concepts of central and obstructive sleep apnea?
Ondine's curse.
Does anyone have any doubts regarding OSA or CSA? Okay.
Okay.
So I think that brings us to an end of sleep, normal sleep, physiology of sleep, common sleep disorders, common parasomnias, and sleep apneas. If anyone has any doubts or anything that they want to talk about sleep apneas or sleep disorders, say it out loud now or forever hold your peace. Anything? Shall we? Yeah, I think someone was trying to say something. Anyone? Okay. So shall we move on to memory then?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So let's take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll quickly try to complete memory. I'll send you the new link in the group. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay.